What's up, Inkie peeps? It's Adele from Inkie Quill, and today's video is an accompaniment. I can't say that word. Accompaniment. It goes along with the September printables reveal. I cannot say that word. No, we're just moving on from that. So for today, I wanted to make some backgrounds for the September printables, and I thought I'd film it to show you how I'm putting them together because they were really fun to make, very kind of freeing. I just slapped a whole lot of colour and stencils and things together, and I think this would be a really good activity for me to do if I get stuck in a creative rut, because I have been stuck in creative ruts a bit this year, earlier in the year especially, and this was just really fun to do, especially not being in an art journal, because most of the, I would say 90% of the art journaling things that I do are in an art journal, whereas this was just on some watercolor paper. So I decided to grab my very cheap acrylic paints. They're all from just my local $2 shop, and I really love the fluoro pink. I think it really makes it pop and stand out. And I thought I'd experiment with some tissue paper for something different. I think I was a little bit procrastinating when I filmed this, I'm going to be honest. So if you've watched my Insta stories the last week, I created this earlier in the week when I was supposed to be cleaning my craft room, but I saw all the pretty things, all the paints, and I was like, cleaning can wait, let's make a background. So I was procrastinating at its best while filming this first part of this video. So just then I used some Liquitex matte gel medium, and I stuck down some tissue paper, kind of wrinkled it. I will be honest, it looks a little bit like, you know, when you're at school, particularly high school, and you'd see wads of toilet paper stuck to the roof. It does resemble that a little bit because it is white and wrinkly. Yep, I can't get that picture out of my mind now that it looks like toilet paper wads on the toilet ceiling. But that's why I reached for my acrylic inks, because it needed de-whitening. It needed some colour added to it. And I didn't know if this was going to work out, to tell you the truth, because I haven't played with acrylic inks a lot, and I haven't played with them on watercolour paper. But wow, look at that. It was so fun to watch those colours mix and merge, and because I had used some texture paste on that stencil there with the little circly bits, the acrylic ink was flowing in between all of the little cracks and crevices, and I love the way it looked. It did lose some of the pinkiness, and so I'm just going through with a second coat. The acrylic inks that I'm using are by Liquitex as well. They're just what my local art supply shop Eckersley's carries, and I really like them. I wanted to soak up a little bit though, because it was very, very wet with spraying that water just on it. It had banked up a little bit around the tissue paper, and I knew it was going to take forever to dry. And then I felt like it needed some white to it, a little bit of a pop. So I grabbed my all-time fave Uniball Signo broad gel pen, and I'm doing a mixture of just some loose little circles and scribbly handwriting-esque type squiggles that don't say anything. They're just a bit squiggly. And this would have been far easier if I didn't have texture paste and the tissue on there, but I managed to kind of make it work over the top. And then I wanted some white splatters, but I haven't replenished my uni chalk texture that I usually use to do my splatters with, but this was actually much easier, so I think I might keep with this for a while. It's just the white acrylic ink with a little bit of water added, and just tapping that everywhere. I got splatters everywhere. You should have seen my iPad when I was finished, because my iPad's just standing above, out of screen. You can't see it. I was watching something or other, and there was splatters everywhere. And you would think by this point I'd learned to move my iPad, but nope, I just splat everywhere. So then I wanted to add some pink ones as well. And with the pink, because it is a darker pinkish tone, and so I wanted to soak up a little bit with a paper towel just to lighten it up a little bit, because I don't know, I've talked before about I can't do red splatters, and dark pink splatters, they're a little bit the same. They do look a little blood-esque, like if you don't soak them up too much. So I like to make them a bit lighter. So this is the first background, and if you haven't watched the reveal yet, you will see bits and pieces of this in the collage sheet and in the journaling cards and the extra printable pages. So then I wanted to do another one. That one actually ended up a lot brighter than the colour scheme that I originally had going in my head. So I grabbed another piece of that white watercolour cardstock, and I'm just going to make this one a little bit calmer, a little bit softer. I'm using just white gesso for my white paint, namely because I don't have a cheap bottle of white paint, and also I didn't want to pull out the dilutions today. I just wanted to stick to the tubes just to try and use them up a little bit and to kind of get some different colours going, even though the colours are very similar anyway. I just wanted to play with a different type of paint. Let me know if you do things like this a lot on loose pieces of paper. What's your favourite paper to work on? Is there a mixed media white paper pad or cardstock that, except for basil marshmallow, but that would take inks well? I don't know what else there is out there. I'm sure there's other paper pads that are just made for mixed media, but I've only got watercolor ones. Then I wanted to try and do a bit of a baby wipe paint removal technique. So I don't really do this one a lot, but if you put a stencil over wet acrylic paint very quickly, like don't wait too long, and then you can use a baby wipe to wipe away the pattern, and it gives you a bit of a negative stenciling. That's a really fun technique to try. My tip is though, for trying that, you need to do it on, I've tried it on a couple of papers that don't like doing it. The Dina Wakley Media Journal, I tried on the white paper that's in there, which is very cottony, and it didn't work properly. Very well could have been user error, and I could have done something wrong or used the wrong paint, but it's something fun to experiment with, and if it doesn't work, then it's no biggie. The page isn't ruined. You can just do some stenciling over the top. I've also got my Use It Up journal, of course. This isn't my Use It Up journal. This is just my normal art journal, but I'm treating it like a Use It Up journal at the moment, and because I had so much extra paint left over, I thought I'd just do a little bit of stenciling, give me a background for next time. And then I've sped this bit up very fast because it took me a while to do. This one just needed another little pop of some sort of white, so I just grabbed my pen and I'm just doing some little stars and tiny plus signs. I wanted to try and keep this paper very flat, whereas the previous one had the texture paste and the tissue. It's a little more difficult to scan because I use my Epson Workforce, could be 7,000 something. I don't know the number of it, I'm sorry. But that's the printer that I use to scan any of the items that I create for the printables each month. And it doesn't like it when there's any thickness at all. So I do often get frustrated with the blurry patches if I have something that's too textured. So I wanted to create something flat. And then I decided to make another one because I found a piece of paper towel that had these beautiful, the same colours, like a lilac-y violet colour and pinks, and a little bit of cream, and I had used it sometime this year, to mop up another art project, and it was just sitting in my collage stash, so I thought I'd use that and scan that in for some texture this month too. But I wanted to do one that had a little bit of blue involved in it, so I decided to make another one. This is another flat one. This one doesn't have, I don't think it has any stenciling in it. I'm sorry about the camera going out of focus then. It's just because my hand's moving in front of it and it doesn't know what to focus on with the paint. But the trick is, I find when doing something like this with the different paint colours, is to stick to, for the first one I stuck just to warm colours. I used all warm colours, so yellows, oranges, pinks, reds, they're your warm colours, and some pinky purples are also warm colours. And then for this one, for the second one, I also stuck to warm colours, and for this one I stuck to warm colours and then just added like a highlight of blue. I have a video, I think it may have been one of my first Patreon videos. It's probably from, I started in July 17, so it was probably July, August, September, one of those months. And I talk a lot about colour families and choosing cool colours and warm colours and what colours go together. If you'd like me to do another video like that, but doing a different technique in the new year, let me know. If you'd like some tips and tricks on colours that work out well together and that coordinate, and how to avoid the muddy brown, because it can be very easy to make muddy, yucky colours when you're using paints and inks and watercolours and all those scrumptious, messy things. Off camera, I should add that I was also using up my leftover paint on this little piece as well, which I think I forgot to use. I think I forgot to use that one, and I think I forgot to use this one too, the blue one. I don't think that's in there. That's that paper towel. But the first two are definitely features of this month's printable collection. So for the process video, I always like to include a process video using the printables to give you some ideas. We're doing a double page layout, so these are next to each other, and I thought this would be fun because it uses a giant photo. Now I'm sneaking here because I have a challenge yourself video coming up in, I think it's next month. It's either next month or November, because I've filmed it, edited it and scheduled it, but I don't have my diary in front of me. And the challenge was to use giant photos. So this was one of the ones that didn't make the cut for that video, so I had that giant photo floating around, and I thought I would pull it out today. I had a bit of trouble actually picking a background paper for this one, and I had a lot of options. Like I could have gone with a blue or a purple, because there's a lot of blue and purple in this picture. I could have gone neutral with a black or a white, or I could have picked up some of the pinks and reds that are in his paint. But in the end, I decided to go with the blue and then use that red watercolory one as a matting for the photo. And the reason why I did that is because I thought the red was a little too overpowering. I thought it was a little too bold and changed the tone of the photo a little bit, whereas the blue cooled down his skin tone, and I just like the look of it a whole lot better. But I really did want to use that red because I think I have 2 or 3 sheets of it, and like I just mentioned before, I have an issue with red paint splatters, and I also kind of get grossed out by red watercolory paint splodges. It just reminds me of a crime scene a little bit too much. Does anyone else feel the same, or is it just me looking too much into the colour? But I can't. I didn't want to use that paper as a whole background, and I'm out of tape for my ATG, so I have to find somewhere to buy some more of that. I don't know whether I'm going to go with the same place that I bought with before. If I do, I think you've got to buy 90 rolls, like it's a bulk order, which is fine. But towards the end, I was having a lot of trouble with them staying sticky, like actually sticking down. And I don't know if that's because they got damaged in the heat of the summer that we had, or if they were just too old, like I should have used them quicker. So I'm not quite sure what I'm going to go with. Aussie peeps, if you buy ATG refills that aren't the Scotch brand, because they're a little bit too pricey for the amount of tape that I like to use, can you let me know where you get yours from? So then I had printed off a couple of different sized photos for here because I wasn't quite sure what size I was going to end up using, and it's a good way. I wouldn't do it to every layout, but sometimes if I have a layout where I know I want to try something a bit different, so for here I knew I wanted to do one big photo and so I wasn't sure if I wanted to just have the one big one and put these little ones in the pocket pages on the opposite page, or if I wanted to have a big version and a small version of the same photo, because I've done that before, or if I wanted to have what I have done, which is a big photo and a small photo, which is different. So I printed a couple and I knew that I really like this photo, and if I didn't use them all, I would either stick it on my inspiration wall it's Archie's first like proper painting at home, or I think it is. Was it his first? I think it might have been his first painting. Or I would be easily able to use it in a traveller's notebook spread about painting with Arch, or passing down the love of creativity throughout the fam. So I knew I'd have another use for it somewhere. Plus, he has a lot of grandparents, so if I ever have extra photos, I know that I can always put some pics together and pass them on to the grandparent clan, and they can put them in their little brag books and stick them on their fridge as they like to do. So then for the title, I decided to go with this pinky background one from the Printables, and I decided to go with pink just because the colours went so much better with the paint colours that Arch was using, and I'm just sticking that here, trying to cover up the overlaps. I find that it's just nicer on the eye if there's an awkward little piece of like cardstock poking out the end. It can sometimes look a bit funny, so whenever I stick something big like this down, I always try to think about where the papers are joining and where I can best cover up pieces that I want to cover up. And then I knew that I needed some sort of label because that background was quite busy. In the end, I also wrote on the background as well, but I was aiming to just write on the label, and then I decided I wanted to write a bit more and even it up down the bottom, so I do add a bit in a moment. So then adding this down, and I knew that my title was going to go in that banner. I just didn't know what it was yet. I had no idea what I was doing. I just knew that I was going to put something or other in there. I could have also done my journaling in there if I wanted to. I might do that for another future layout. I could have also used if I wanted a bigger place to journal in, I could have used one of the journaling cards, the PL cards, and stuck it up that top right hand corner, but I didn't. I could have done that though. I now think of that when I'm cutting out all these other little bits and pieces. I'm using this piece just as like I would a pattern paper, and I'm punching some shapes out of it, just some hearts. This little pink heart punch is actually they're both from Lincraft, I think, the pink one and the blue one. It's just their generic brand that they have there. and I'm just sticking those down. I was going to make a layered embellishment with some gold cardstock and some of the tiny word stickers, but then I just liked the way that the circle looked next to that other circle embellishment with the wording on it. So I just decided to leave it as it is, but the little hearts weren't popping out enough for me. So I do in a moment go and give them a bit of a doodly messy border just to make them pop. And you can see I love going for a bit of a diagonal across my page. I just think it's a nice way for the eye to travel across the page. So here my eye kind of goes straight to that big photo and then down to the banner and then up to that top right hand corner. I don't often plan it ahead of time, but I'll start with my big focal point where I want your eye to go first, and then I'll work my way around the page and kind of make my eye travel where I want it to go, using embellishment clusters or my title or movement. I feel like the banner has a bit of a flow to it because it's curved. She got curves, and I just feel like it flows you up, and then the circles and the hearts kind of look like they're floating into the sky. Once again, I may just be looking too much into the layout and analysing it a bit too much, but that's just how I see it and how I go about it when I put a page together. So I decided to call it Mini Artist, and then I wanted to do my journaling. So I'm just using a black fine tip Sharpie because I printed all my printables on very cheap glossy photo paper from Kmart, I do believe it's from, and it's lovely and glossy. It's nice and thin too, so it doesn't chunk up too much, but it's very slick because it is meant for glossy photos and not for printing things that you want to write on. So then I'm just adding a few puffy stickers as well. And then my journaling, I just felt like down that bottom right hand corner, there was just something missing. I felt like I just needed to add a few more words to it. I also love to use purple. We've talked about purple so many times, but I love to include purple when I can. When there's a prompt in my photo to add purple, I like to stick it in, and it just helps to get the purple actually used out of my stash, because I find it very easy to use colours like gold and pink and turquoise and even yellow. I love a pop of yellow, but purple just sticks around, and I'd rather actually use it than be left with just a mass of purple things at the end of the year. Adding a few more little doodly hearts in, because you can never go wrong with an extra little doodly heart. And this page is all complete. So this is the right hand side of the double page spread. Let me know if you also like these double page spreads that have a layout and a pocket page. If you'd also like to see some double page spreads that have both layouts or both PL pages, also let me know what you'd like to see. So for this PL page is from February, and this was the week of Archie's baptism, and so we were doing a lot of prep behind the scenes to get that all organized, and I did a few DIYs. This is actually on Instagram. Earlier in the week I mentioned that I had filmed a studio vlog for YouTube a while ago, and I never uploaded it because I was in a bit of a bad headspace at the start of the year, and with my anxiety, and I overthought it way too much, and I didn't think people would want to see it, so I was too nervous and I never uploaded it. But I've had a lot of good feedback, and people have told me to upload it, so I will. That'll be on YouTube. I haven't voice-overed it yet, but that'll be on YouTube at some point in the next couple of months. But the week of that is actually this week, and in that studio vlog I show how I made this big hoop on the left there that I'm taping down now, And I also made Archie's baptismal candle as well. And it was a big week. It was it was also a week that Archie was so very crook. He caught a bad cough from daycare, and it was disrupting his sleep, and he wasn't himself. So he had several days off daycare in the 2 weeks leading up to this. He was okay by his baptism, which was really good. He kind of came back to normal on like the Thursday, and it was on the Saturday, which was good. But the 2 weeks prior, that I had grand ambitions to film this studio vlog and make all these things and do all these big creative projects, I had Archie home most of the time. So things didn't quite go according to plan, but that's just the way that it goes. I used the 4x6 journaling card from the September printables and chopped it in half in order to make 2 smaller 3x4 cards, and it was good because they both went together, like they were both crafty projects that I'd made, so it made sense for them to be on the same background cards. The hoop is now hanging in Archie's room, and the baptismal candle, I have taken the cross and I have saved it for I was going to say her name again, for baby girl when she eventually gets baptized as well. So for this one, I wanted to talk about Archie's obsession at this point, which was to climb on he has this little vintagey style toy ride-on car that our friend gave him, and he, instead of riding it, he likes to climb on it, because why ride something that has wheels and a steering wheel and a seat when you can climb like a mountain goat? I do think Archie's part mountain goat, or in a past life must have been a bit mountainous, because the boy loves to climb and jump and leap. And so I wanted to write about how his latest trick is he thinks he's so hilarious when he climbs his car and then goes peekaboo, and thinks that he's done a fantastic job of hiding, when really he sounds like a herd of bulls in a china shop when he climbs this little car. It's not a very quiet procedure at all. Here I pulled out my jelly plate again. So this was when I rediscovered my jelly plate. I filmed, like I've said before, I filmed a class. It's all done, it's all filmed, it's just not edited and voiceovered. Before I was pregnant with Arch, so 3 years ago, maybe even 4. I filmed it just after Get Kidded. That was my next one. And I never released it because I thought about it too much. Overthinking is just, it's not fun. It's not a good thing to be stuck with sometimes. So I haven't, because I felt too ashamed that I didn't release the class, I abandoned the jelly plate and just decided to, my coping skills, just to pretend it didn't exist anymore. And I decided that it was time to whip it out, and I've been having lots of fun with that lately, and making all sorts of things. I'm thinking of filming that class next year, because I've changed cameras since then, and the camera quality is nothing on the camera that I use now. It's the same camera that I used for Get Kidded, actually. So I don't want to release a class that has dodgy camera quality. I am also thinking of doing Get Kidded Part 2. Let me know your thoughts on that, because that would be, I really, really enjoyed filming that, and I have lots of ideas that I want to include there. So that's my goals for next year, to release the Jelly Plate class, Get Kidded 2, and possibly the baby album class as well. We'll see how we go. So then this just sums up how Archie was for the week. Very clingy, which he's not usually. He's Mr. Independent, running away everywhere. He's not cuddly at all. So when he does get cuddly, you know he's sick, or he's tired, or not feeling like his usual self. So my dad came over, and because my dad is one of Archie's fave people in the world, and one of the few people that can bring a smile to his face when he's feeling a bit down. So they came over for some snuggles. And then I think this is the last card for this double page spread. So make sure that you also download all of the printables in the reveal post that also goes up at the same time as this one. And the art print is also in a separate post, because I have a different tier that only has access to the art print. Adding a few little bits here, and I must say I'm loving the 12 by 12 PL peeps. Oh, I didn't think I would, but I'm really loving it, and having a more flat approach as well. I think I'll film a video in the new year talking about my goals for my 2020 albums. 2020, that sounds terrifying. Oh, that's too in the future for my my liking. But I'm really liking 12 by 12, and I'll talk a bit about it in January. But thanks for watching, peeps, and as always, thanks again for supporting me over here. It really means the world, and it's helping bring little baby Toomey into the world possible, because I am able to work from home, still look after Arch as well. So thank you very much. All right, peeps, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.